Hello, bruvs. We're back with Black Folktales by Julius Lester. I don't know which story this is, 6th or 7th. Jack and the Devil's Daughter. Once there was a man who had 2 sons. One day, when the sons were almost grown, the old man called them in. I've decided to give you boys what you got coming to you right now. I don't want you all hanging around the house waiting for me to die, so here. He gave each of them $1,000, which was their inheritance. Now, I don't want either of you ever coming to me again for anything in the world. Do with the money what you want to, but if you end up broke, shame on you. The first one, whose name was John, bought a little grocery store, got married, and settled down. The other son, whose name was Jack, put the $1,000 in one pocket, a deck of cards in the other, and took off down the road. Jack was a natural-born gambler. Everybody else had to have bad luck because Jack had all the good luck. There wasn't a card game in the world he couldn't play, and when the money started to hit the table, there wasn't anybody around who could beat Jack. It was a very good thing that Jack was talented at gambling, because if he had to work for a living, he would have died. Jack treated work like he treated his mama, and he wouldn't hit his mama a lick. His hands were still baby soft, but don't let that fool you. If Jack had to, he could shoot out a flea's eye at 100 yards and cut a man so quick the man would be afraid to bleed if Jack told him not to. Well, this one day, Jack walked into this place and saw a man sitting by himself at a table. "You look like you might be a card player," Jack said to the man. The man didn't say a word. He just nodded. Jack sat down, shuffled the cards, and started dealing. Jack looked at his cards. Hey, speaking of that, I'm using this card as a placeholder. The man looked at his and laid $100 on the table. "Oh, man, I thought you wanted to gamble," Jack laughed, laying down $500 plus 100 to cover the man's bet. The man didn't blink an eye. He laid down another 500 and raised Jack 300 more. Jack threw away 2 cards and pulled 2 more from the top of the deck. He laid down 300. "You ain't going to take no cards?" Jack asked the man. There was no response. Jack shrugged. "It's your money you losing." He grinned and laid down 3 tens. The man spread 3 queens and a pair of deuces and took the money. Jack laughed. "Well, you got lucky that time. Let's go round again." They played another hand and Jack lost all of his money. "Well, mister, you the best I ever run into. I guess the game's over, 'cause you got all my money." The man spoke for the first time. "I'll bet you all the money on the table against your life." Jack laughed. "Why not? I'm a gambling man, sure as you're born." Jack wasn't worried. Even if he lost the game, he knew he could outshoot, and outfight any man around. So if the man did try to kill him, Jack had no doubt that he'd kill him first. They played another hand, and Jack lost. Then the man got up from the table, and he stood 14 feet tall. Jack was as scared as he could be. The man looked down at him and said in a deep voice, "My name is the Devil, and I live across the deep blue sea. I'm not going to kill you right now because I like your style. If you get to my house by this time tomorrow, I'll spare you. If you don't, you're mine." And he disappeared. Jack didn't know what he was going to do. He had sat there and played cards with the devil. Wasn't no way in the world he could have won. The more he thought about it, the worse he felt, and the worse he felt, the more he thought about it. An old man came in the place and saw Jack sitting there with tears rolling down his face. "What's the matter with you, son?" "I played cards with the devil and he won. He said if I don't get to his house across the ocean by this time tomorrow, he's going to kill me." The old man said, "You got problems. Ain't no doubt about that. There ain't but one thing that can cross the ocean to where the devil live at." "What's that?" "The bald eagle. There's a bald eagle that comes down to the edge of the ocean every morning, washes in the water, and picks off the dead feathers. When she dips herself in the water the 3rd time, she kind of rocks a little bit, then spreads her wings and takes off again. Now, if you could be there with a yearling bull after she dips in the water the 3rd time, and then rocks, you jump on her back and she'll take you there." "What's the yearling bull for?" "She gets hungry going across the ocean, and every time she hollers, you give her some of the yearling bull, and you'll be all right. If you don't, she'll eat you." The next morning, Jack was there bright and early. Sure enough, he hadn't been there long when a bald eagle came flying from the other side of the ocean. Jack watched, and when she dipped herself in the water the 3rd time and rocked a little bit, Jack jumped on her back. the yearling bull under his arm, and the bald eagle started climbing toward the sun. They'd been flying for a short while when the eagle started twisting her head from side to side, and her blazing eyes lit up the northern sky and then the southern sky, and she hollered, "One quarter across the ocean, don't see nothing but blue water. One quarter across the ocean, don't see nothing but blue water." Jack got scared when he heard the eagle sing like that, and instead of giving her just a piece of the yearling bull, he gave her all of it. The eagle swallowed it down and kept on flying. After a while, the eagle twisted her head from side to side, and her blazing eyes lit up the northern sky and the southern sky, and she hollered, "Halfway across the ocean, don't see nothing but blue water. Halfway across the ocean, don't see nothing but blue water." Jack didn't have any meat left, but he was so scared that he tore off his leg and gave it to her. She swallowed that down and flew on. After a while, she twisted her head to one side, then the other, and her blazing eyes lit up the northern sky and the southern sky, and she hollered, "Three quarters across the ocean, don't see nothing but blue water. Three quarters across the ocean, don't see nothing but blue water." Jack tore off an arm and gave it to her. She swallowed that down and flew on. Pretty soon the eagle landed, and Jack jumped off and started down the road looking for the devil's house. He didn't know exactly where the devil lived, so he asked the first person he saw. "It's the first big white house round the curve in the road," Jack was told. He went on to the house and knocked on the door. "Who's that?" a voice called out. "One of the devil's friends, one without an arm or a leg." The devil told his wife, "Reach behind the door and hand that fool an arm and a leg and let him in." Jack put on the arm and leg and stepped in the house. "Well," said the devil, "I see you got here. You just in time for breakfast. That's good, because I sure am hungry." "I'm sure you are. Well, before you eat, I wonder if you'd do a little job for me." "Be glad to help out," Jack said. "Glad to hear it. I got 100 acres of forest out back that I need cut down to keep the fires of hell burning." 100 acres, you say? That ain't much for a man who played cards with the devil. "And you want me to do it before breakfast? If you don't," the devil said, "I'm going to take your life." Jack picked up an axe and went out back. When he saw the 100 acres of trees, he knew that it would take 100 men working 100 years to cut all that forest down. It would take him a year just to cut one side of one tree. Jack had never seen trees that were so big and tall. Jack didn't need to take a second look at the trees to know that he was beat. So instead of sitting down and worrying about it, Jack lay down and went to sleep. Now the devil had a daughter named Beulah May, and she had been peeping at Jack from the back room and had fallen in love with him. Nobody can tell why somebody falls in love with somebody else. Maybe she fell in love with him because of the green suede shoes he had on. Maybe she liked the pink shirt he was wearing. Maybe she liked the way the sequins on his suit sparkled. Maybe she liked the way his gold tooth sparkled. Whatever it was, she was madly in love with Jack, and when she heard her father give Jack all that work to do, she knew that her father was simply looking for an excuse to kill him. She'd seen it happen before, but she liked Jack, and she didn't want it to happen to him. So she went out back and found Jack sleeping like Daniel in the lion's den. "Don't you know my father's going to kill you if you don't get this work done?" she asked, waking him up. "Who are you?" Jack asked, opening one eye. "I'm Beulah May, the devil's daughter." Jack opened the other eye. "Well, Beulah May, I'm just glad you didn't let me live long enough to rest my eyes on you. Honey, you're prettier than a royal flush. You look as good as Aretha sounds." Beulah May blushed. "Well, I'll help you get this forest cut. You just put your head in my lap and go back to sleep." Jack didn't need a second invitation, and when he went to sleep, Beulah May looked at the axe and sang, "Axe, cut on one side, cut on the other. When one tree falls, all fall together." And just like that, the whole 100 acres of trees came down. After a while, Beulah May woke Jack up, and he went into the house to get his breakfast. "You all through?" the devil asked. Jack nodded. "Yeah, and it sure gave me a good appetite, too." The devil went out back, and sure enough, the whole 100 acres was down. "Well, Jack," the devil said when he came back in, "you're almost as good a man as I am." Jack grinned almost. The devil couldn't figure out how Jack had cut down that 100 acres of trees. No one had ever been able to do it, and he wasn't too sure that Jack had done it. "When you get through breakfast, I got another thing I want you to help me out on." "What's that?" "I got a well. It's 100 feet deep, and I want you to dip it dry. And when I say dry, I don't mean muddy. I mean dry. I want that well so dry I want to see dust in the bottom, and then I want you to bring me what's in the bottom of the well." "Is that all?" Jack asked without looking up from his breakfast. "That's all for now." Jack took his time finishing breakfast because he knew it was going to be his last meal. Dip a well so dry that there'd be dust in the bottom? The devil was out of his mind. Jack spent a couple of hours picking his teeth and then went out to the well and looked it over. Sure enough, it was 100 feet deep at least. Jack took one look at it, turned his back, and went and stretched out on the grass. The minute he shut his eyes, he was asleep. In a little while, Beulah May came out and woke Jack up. "What did Daddy ask you to do this time?" Jack woke up. "That fool told me to dip that 100-foot deep well dry and dip it so dry that there'd be dust in the bottom. Then he said, bring him what was at the bottom." "Honey, your daddy is stone crazy." "No, he's not. He's the devil. He's the devil and he's stone crazy." "Well, don't you worry about it. Just put your head in my lap and finish taking your nap. I'll take care of this well." As soon as Jack was asleep, Beulah May took a dipper and started singing, "Dipper, dipper, dip one drop. When you dip one drop, dip every drop." And no sooner had she said it than the well was so dry you could see the dust pouring out of it. She called her pet bird to her and told it to fly down to the bottom of the well and bring her what was there. After a while, she woke Jack up and gave him a ring. "Go give this to Daddy. Mama dropped it in the well yesterday." After a while, she woke Jack up and gave him a ring. "Go give this to Daddy." Oh, I already read that. "Mama dropped it in the well yesterday." Jack went in the house and gave the ring to the devil. "Hey, man, you got to tell your old lady to be careful about where she let that ring slip off her finger from now on." The devil was really mad now. Not only did Jack get everything done, but he had the nerve to come in bragging about it. But the devil didn't let on that he was angry. "Jack, you're almost as smart as I am. I tell you what, I've been looking for a good number 2 man that I could train. I got one more job for you, and if you do it, I'll make you my number 2 man. Plus, you can marry my daughter, Beulah May." "Well, that's mighty nice of you, Mr. Devil. What you want me to do?" "I got a goose. I want you to go up to the tallest tree and pick all the feathers off the goose. Bring me the goose and all the feathers when you get through. If one feather is missing, you're mine." "Oh, is that all?" "Don't forget, if one feather is missing, you're mine." "Don't you worry about it, dude. Ain't gonna be no feathers missing. It ought to be obvious to you by now that I don't mess around." Jack got the goose, tied him to a bush, and went to sleep on the other side of the bush. He was sure that even Beulah May couldn't save him this time. Beulah May came to him and he told her what her father wanted him to do. "Just put your head in my lap and go back to sleep." After a while, she woke him up and handed him all the feathers tied into a neat little bundle. "That was a hard one, Jack. Honey, you ain't told me nothing. Here's the feathers and the goose. Take 'em to Daddy." Jack strutted into the house and gave the feathers and the goose to the devil. "Now, where's your daughter?" The devil was so angry he wanted to kill Jack on the spot. Instead, he called Beulah May. "This is the man I picked out for you to marry, Beulah May. He's going to be my assistant." "That's nice, Daddy." The devil noticed how she was looking at him and how he was looking at her, and he knew who had done all the work. His own daughter, Beulah May Devil, had betrayed him. "Jack, you and Beulah May can have that little pink stucco house down the road." "Thank you, Devil. I sure appreciate all you've done for me." Jack and Beulah May went to their house and had a big supper, and after they did the dishes, went to bed. Way over in the night, Beulah May woke Jack up. Jack, wake up. Daddy's on his way here to kill you." Jack woke up, but he didn't hear anything. "How do you know?" "I don't hear nothing. I'm the devil's daughter, ain't I? The same powers he got, I got. And I can hear him coming. Now get up and go to the barn. Daddy's got 2 horses that can jump 1,000 miles at a jump. One of them is named Hallowed Be Thy Name." And I can't turn the page. "The other one is called Thy Kingdom Come. You hitch him to the buckboard so we can get out of here." When the devil got to the house, he found that Jack and Beulah May had gone. He ran to the barn to get his 2 fast horses, and they were gone. Then he got his bull, which could jump 500 miles at a jump, and he was after him. The devil was tearing up some road, and every time the bull jumped, the devil would holler, "Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come," and the horses would fall to their knees when they heard his voice, and the devil would be steady gaining. "He's going to catch us," Beulah May said. "Jack, you get out and draw your feet backwards, 9 steps. Throw some sand over your left shoulder and let's go." Jack did what she'd told him, and the horses were off again, 1,000 miles at a jump. "Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come," the devil hollered. The horses fell to their knees again, and the devil was getting closer. It's too late, Beulah May said. He's going to catch us. Well, what we going to do? I'll turn you into a lake, and I'll turn you into a duck swimming on the lake. She tried to turn Jack into a duck, but he was so tough that he wouldn't turn into nothing. Oh, Lord, what we going to do, Beulah May, honey? That's okay. I'll turn myself into the lake and the horses into ducks, and you be a hunter. She pulled a gun out of the air and handed it to him. She had scarcely done it when the devil came by on his bull, and he was steady trucking. He went on by them, 500 miles a jump. As soon as he was out of sight, Beulah May turned back into herself and turned the ducks back into horses, and they started off in another direction at 1,000 miles a jump. It wasn't long, though, before the devil realized he'd been tricked, and he came back, got on their trail, and was after them. Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, and the horses fell to their knees. Beulah May jumped out of the buckboard, pulled a thorn off a rosebush, and stuck it in the ground. When I plant one thorn, I plant 'em all. Grow thorns, 3,000 miles high, 3,000 miles wide, 3,000 miles long. Grow thorns. And no sooner had she said it than the biggest thorn bush the world has ever seen grew in that place. When the devil got to the wall of thorns, there was nothing he could do. By the time he had cast the spell to make the thorns disappear, Jack and Beulah May were riding across the ocean on the back of the Eagle. Jack took Beulah May to Harlem, and they settled down. Jack went into business at the store with his brother, selling numbers. They raised a big family, and whenever you hear a mother saying to her child, "Boy, you got the devil in you," more than likely it's one of Jack and Beulah May's grandchildren. All right, that's a odd courtship, but there you go. I mean, the writing's good, but I mean, the stories are kind of weird and pointless. All right, folks, goodbye.